check your phone right quick? It's a video going around of King Kong celebrating the verdict. I want to get your opinion on it.
We love y'all. Everybody watching. God bless.
Look at that bullshit. Taking off his shirt, doing push-ups, all out, jumping around. Come on, man. That's some clown shit. King Clown. That's some real clown shit. Man, listen to me, man. Let me just tell you something, bro. And this is real talk. He's still going to jail.
What if I told you the son of a billionaire music mogul was just served with explosive legal papers at his dad's mansion, the same one raided by federal agents? What if I told you that this wasn't just another celebrity scandal, but possibly the unraveling of hip-hop royalty? This is the story of Christian King Combs accused of sexual assault aboard a super yacht, caught in a media firestorm, and now, just maybe, the next target in the Diddy downfall saga.
Does it feel weird partying with your son?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't really feel weird because it's important for me to make sure that I show them how to move out here. You know.
Switching it up, I pick you up like this drink in my cup. Ass so fast, she toss it, make it jump. She throw it back, got me dropping my blunt. I get paid to stun. Pull up off the whip in the front. Smoking the booze like that shit with some runs. Her pussy clean, but got drunk in the trunk. Look, this shit gets us, they try to play the victim. I was spoken, I ain't keeping shit in. W's in the chat, a nigga winning. Popping out, head still spinning. $1 million, I got them grilling me. They be taking shots, they controlling me, nah. Fuck the world, critics and the witness. Face clean, they tryna dirt the image. Sitting niggas down and still on business. I'm on high side, Courtroom. It's always something I shit to prove. Broken niggas don't lose, I ain't one of them. What's the song to a good kid to a bad boy.
Do you have any statement? I work for A.
Before we dive into the dark drama, let's rewind for a second. Christian Combs' stage name, King Combs, is the flashy, smooth-talking youngest son of Sean Diddy Combs and the late Kim Porter. Born into fame, fortune, and front row seats to rap history, Christian has always had big shoes to fill, and he's been trying. He's a model with IMG, a rapper signed to his dad's label, and a staple on the LA party scene. He's dropped tracks with big names like Kodak Black, Ty Dolla $ign, and Chris Brown. And yeah, he's got almost 3 million Instagram followers and a feed that looks like a never-ending vacation in the Hollywood Hills, but behind the photo shoots and Ferraris, a new image is forming, one that's a little more lawsuit and a lot less lifestyle.
Christian Combs, as we were talking about, is facing his own legal scrutiny. On April 4th, this was days after the simultaneous raids at Combs' homes in Los Angeles and Miami, a woman named Grace O'Markey filed a civil lawsuit against Christian Combs. And according to that civil complaint, O'Markey, 25 years old at the time, says that she worked as a steward on the yacht that Combs had rented, and she was in charge of providing food and drinks for a 12-hour period. This was the yacht that Sean Combs had rented. And she believes that the alcohol on that yacht had been laced with drugs because she says women would have one drink and then almost immediately pass out or start falling over, which is kind of consistent with what the allegations are in Sean Combs' criminal indictment. But O'Markey says that Christian Combs had been staying at a villa on the shore, but then would come onto the yachts in the evenings to party. And on December 28th, 2022, Christian, according to her, arrives very intoxicated and pressured O'Markey to take shots of tequila. She claims that she did, and then, according to her, Christian allegedly tried to get her to drink more in the yacht's makeshift recording studio. O'Markey alleges that Christian kissed her neck and face as he groped her legs, breasts, and private areas. O'Markey reportedly told Christian, quote, "Excuse me, you don't touch my legs like that. I'll move my legs where I want to. If I want to do this, then I will. You don't touch my legs like that." Now, this alleged assault was reportedly witnessed by Rodney Little Rod Jones, a music producer who accompanied Combs basically everywhere for a year while they worked on his latest album, Love Off the Grid. And in his own sexual assault separate lawsuit, Jones says he was in the recording studio when Christian and O'Markey were there and might have even had some of the audio from that interaction recorded. So O'Markey says that she tried to go back to her work, but Christian found her again, wanted her to find him a place to sleep for the night. So she took him to the cinema room of the yacht, and that is when she claims Christian stopped her from leaving, groped her, took off all of his clothes, and tried to force her to perform oral sex on him. This is the allegation. So a Markey civil lawsuit accuses Christian of assault, battery, sexual assault, intentional infliction of emotional distress. Sean Combs is also named as a defendant. He's accused of aiding and abetting Christian's behavior, as well as having premises liability because he was the leaseholder of the yacht. And premises liability means that you have a duty to keep people on your property safe from injuries. She's seeking unspecified damages in the suit. So let me go back to you, Fortunato, about this. Do you think that this allegation, this incident, Grace O'Markey, this will be part of the criminal case? Because so much of the criminal case facing Combs, we don't know the details. A lot of it is general. Do you think that this is going to make its way into that case?
Jesse, it's certainly possible. And I would love to know if law enforcement was ever given this information before a lawsuit was filed. If I'm defending Christian, the first thing I say is, why did you wait so long to make an allegation in this civil lawsuit? Did you wait, and did you see what happened with the father, with the indictment, with the allegations, and then just try and pile on to try and get yourself a payday? That would be my position.
So just to be clear, this came out before the arrest indictment, but it came out after the civil lawsuits, after the raid. So there was the idea that we knew he was probably going to be charged, but he hadn't been charged yet.
They quickly surrounded these residences.
Guys, they found underground tunnels at Diddy's homes. This was first brought up by Shadow of Ezra, where he talked about the underground tunnels in Diddy's luxurious Los Angeles mansion. It was an underwater swimming tunnel leading to a mysterious grotto, reminiscent of an ancient and modern human use of caves.
According to a civil lawsuit filed by former yacht stewardess Grace O'Markey, things took a terrifying turn back in December 2002. Grace says she was working a 12-hour shift aboard a yacht rented by Diddy. A list guests, luxury booze, super react. Vibes sounds glamorous, right? Not exactly. She claims the environment was anything but wholesome. Allegedly, the alcohol was spiked, women were passing out after one drink, and what was pitched as a family cruise turned into what she called a hedonistic nightmare. But the real shock came when Christian reportedly showed up late one night drunk, aggressive, and entitled. Grace says he pressured her into drinking, followed her into a recording studio, and groped her without consent. Later, she alleges he blocked her in a room, took off his clothes, and tried to force oral sex. Her only escape, someone walked in, and that interruption may have saved her from something worse.
Yeah, I think it was all part of as things were kind of percolating. Civil cases against them, and we saw what those allegations were, kind of what the details of those allegations were. And my question would be to the plaintiff in this case, why did you wait so long? Why didn't you report it right away? And did they report it to law enforcement? That to me is crucial, because if they reported this to law enforcement and law enforcement kind of poo-pooed it and thought there were credibility issues there, I think that's going to severely hamper the plaintiff's case moving forward. But maybe law enforcement has had this and they've been sitting on it, and they're going to make it part of this whole federal indictment. Then that's where the problems arise.
I also think it's interesting how they structured the case. Not every incident of physical violence or sexual assault is a part of the criminal case. It's more about the freak-offs. It's more about these very specific alleged sexual episodes. And while they allege that basically Combs engaged in a campaign of abuse of women, where the focus remains is the freak-offs. This is not necessarily a freak-off. It's not. So it makes me wonder how broad their case will be or can be. They're federal prosecutors. They're not state prosecutors. They're not charging sexual battery or sexual assault, but they can include that as part of a larger racketeering case, that Combs was operating a criminal organization that engaged in a number of different crimes: sexual assault, kidnapping, sexual, obstruction of justice, arson. So again, I think that part about it is interesting too. Can they, or even will they? What's their ability to include this?
Well, they can either charge it specifically as a separate act under the racketeering portion of the indictment, or they could introduce it as other crimes evidence that Sean Combs was creating this environment where women were being sexually assaulted by people, including his son. Now, right now, his son's not charged in this federal indictment, so they'd have to show that Sean Combs was somehow responsible criminally for what happened with this woman, the sexual assault with this woman. So there's two ways they could do it. They could charge it as a predicate act, or they could introduce it pre-trial as some other crimes evidence of criminal activity.
Interesting. And just generally speaking about this lawsuit that Christian Combs faces, any takeaways from it in terms of, I mean, you mentioned it before about her timing of filing the lawsuit, but in terms of its strength, in terms of the idea that Rodney Little Rod Jones might be a corroborating witness to this this alleged assault, in terms of the strength of the actual lawsuit, what do you take away from it?
Well, a lot of it is going to hinge on, what I've seen, that there may be potential audio of some of her discussions with Christian. So if they are authentic, that certainly makes her case a lot stronger. But Rodney's tainted. I think he has his own lawsuit that he's filed against Sean Combs. So if there's some question about the authenticity of this audio of the woman making complaints in real time while it's happening, that's where this case is going to hinge. I mean, if you have an expert from the defense come in and say, "Hey, that's not her voice. That's been tinkered with. The audio has been tinkered with." That's going to be a positive for the defense. But if that comes in as an authentic audio recording of her in real time making complaints about what Christian is doing, I think he's going to have a problem defending this thing.
It's a really good point.
Now, here's where it gets intense. Grace didn't just file a vague complaint. She named names, included bruised photos of her arms, and even mentioned a potential audio recording of the incident captured by music producer Rodney Lil Rod Jones, who was reportedly nearby and has his own lawsuit against Diddy. This isn't tabloid gossip. This is evidence, physical, audio, testimonial. And that's why this case has everyone in the entertainment legal world buzzing. And let's not forget, she's suing both Christian and Diddy. Why? Because Diddy was the leaseholder of the yacht, meaning he had legal responsibility for the safety of the people on board. Think about it. What happens if your father is accused of running a sex-fueled criminal enterprise? And now your name starts showing up in court documents too? That's not just messy. That's dangerous.
It's a hedonistic environment. Now, going back to Christian Combs, O'Markey says that Christian, he'd been staying at a villa on the shore, but then he would come onto the yacht in the evenings to party and have a good time. And now we focus on December 28th, 2022. She says that Christian reportedly arrives on that yacht very intoxicated and then pressures her to take shots of tequila. She says that she did, that Christian allegedly tried to get her to drink more, and she tried to get her to drink more in the yacht's makeshift recording studio. And that's important, and I'll explain why in a second. The complaint reads, at this point, defendant C. Combs violently grabbed plaintiff's arm and began hurting her. He pulled plaintiff to the seat beside him and prevented her from getting up. And she says from there, she claims from there, that Christian allegedly kisses her neck and face as he gropes her legs, her breasts, her private areas. And according to her, she reportedly tells Christian, quote, "Excuse me, you don't touch my legs like that. I'll move my legs where I want to. If I want to do this, then I will. You don't touch my legs like that." Now, remember where I said this was happening, this recording studio? Well, the alleged assault was reportedly witnessed.
Let's zoom out .by now. Everyone knows Diddy is facing a mountain of legal trouble, RICO charges, sex trafficking allegations, and even connections to coerced, freak-offs, wild, drug-laced sex parties described by victims in court filings. And while Diddy remains behind bars in Brooklyn, awaiting trial, his inner circle, including his sons, are still living large, posting on social media, and attending court like it's Fashion Week. Christian, for one, hasn't exactly laid low. Just days after the federal raids on Diddy's homes, Christian released a rap track mocking the feds and bragging about evading them with lyrics like, "Police raid the crib like they think we selling crack. Too bad they ain't know we bought the house next door." The internet went wild. Even 50 Cent, who's had a long-standing beef with Diddy, took shots, writing, "Why would you post this when the feds are watching you like a hawk? Is you stupid or is you dumb? Yeah, not the best timing, King."
Like, Diddy wasn't or never created these broad defined lines between his children and the alleged illegal acts that he was committing. So it's completely possible that they could get wrapped up in a superseding indictment.
Look, the last time we heard about the family, it was the idea.
Then came the viral video that blew the lid off this whole situation. Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, publicly called out Christian Combs, slamming him as a clown, a prankster, and a wanksta for celebrating Diddy avoiding some of the RICO charges. Dot in the video, Gene is visibly angry. Why you out here dancing, taking your shirt off, doing push-ups? Like this is a game. You think the judge ain't watching that? You think the feds don't see everything? He's still going to jail. He continued, that little celebration might cost her daddy more time. The judge could easily say, oh, you happy? Let's see if you happy with 10 years. That clip racked up millions of views, and it wasn't just a rant. It was a wake-up call.
And I think now whoever's in their orbit needs to be careful and do the best to protect their interests under these circumstances.
The fact that only Sean Combs was arrested and criminally charged and not anybody else from his circle, and maybe more specifically, not anybody else from his family, does that let you know that they're probably not going to be criminally charged, that they're not implicated in what Combs is accused of doing, or is it too early to say and something could change?
It's way too early to say, and every day in the federal criminal system, the U.S. Attorney's Office issues superseding indictments by going back in front of the grand jury with additional information and just adding on to the initial indictment. So no, I would say it's way too early to say at this point whether or not anybody in his family, anybody in his circle are going to be charged criminally with some type of a superseding indictment in this situation.
The reason I ask is because
legal analysts believe Christian may be next in line for federal scrutiny. While he hasn't been criminally charged yet, his name is surfacing in more and more court filings. His behavior, lyrics, public appearances, lawsuits could easily paint a picture of someone close to the alleged criminal operation. And here's a scary thought. Federal prosecutors love superseding indictments. That means they can add new charges or new defendants whenever they want. Could Christian get wrapped into Diddy's case? We've seen it before in mafia cases, drug empires, even with R. Kelly's crew. If the feds can prove Christian was involved or that Diddy enabled him, they won't hesitate. And imagine the psychological pressure. Diddy's sitting in a jail cell, and suddenly his son's future hangs in the balance too. That's leverage the government loves to use.
Trauma was a post to social media by Christian's publicist Linda Luna. She wrote in part, "This Diddy controversy is truly so unfortunate. I work with his son Christian as his publicist in the music area. I've been to his parties and after parties, and I've never seen what they are claiming. I do feel like maybe he was trying to change over the past year, but it seems like it was too late and his past transgressions have come to light, and now he has to face the consequences. There are a lot of other powerful men in this industry that I've witnessed do worse, if not the same, as the allegations in this case. So anyways, God bless him and the family and the victims, as they deserve justice for what is truth in all of this." And after her comments were reported on, Luna said the post was supposed to be for friends and family on her personal Facebook page and not as an official statement.
Oh, and if things weren't messy enough, Christian's own publicist tried to defend him in a Facebook post only to make things worse. She wrote, "I've been to Diddy's parties. I've never seen anything like what's being claimed. But maybe he was trying to change." Cue the backlash. The internet lit her up for seeming to minimize the situation. She later walked it back, saying the post wasn't meant for the public, just for friends, but the damage was done. This case isn't just a legal battle, it's a full-on PR disaster. So what happens next? Christian will have to respond to the lawsuit. If there's a trial, he may face cross-examination. If more victims come forward, the situation could spiral. If that alleged audio recording exists and it holds up, it could be game over. And here's a real question for you. If it turns out Diddy and his son were part of the same pattern of abuse, how do you separate legacy from liability? Can King Combs ever step out from under his father's shadow, especially when the shadow gets darker by the day? So now we turn it over to you. What do you think? Is King Combs just an unlucky son caught in a storm, or is there more to the story? Should he face the same scrutiny as his father? And if you were in his shoes, would you speak up or stay silent? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk. And hey, if you made it this far, you already know the drill. Like this video, comment your take, subscribe for more deep dive breakdowns of celebrity chaos, courtroom drama, and real Hollywood tea. We don't do fluff, we do facts and a whole lot of fire. Until next time, stay curious, stay sharp, and stay tuned.